Recently, the world was rocked by the Trump administration's planned global tariffs. The US president's announcements over the past few weeks caused more than a bit of turmoil due to concerns that it could spark a trade war. This could be seen with how China reacted, with both countries involved in a vicious cycle of retaliatory tariff hikes that could have a grave impact for the whole world. Before we go on, what is a tariff? Basically, it's a type of tax that governments put on imported goods. One type of tariff is the import duty that we have for foreign cars. And how do those tariffs work? Very simply put, imagine that we import a product from another country and there's a 10% tariff. If that product costs 100 ringgit, the import tariff will be 10 ringgit. Usually, the tariff is paid by the importer, who will then pass on the cost to consumers. So at the end of the day, us ordinary folks will have to pay 110 ringgit to buy that product. And with all that said, how did we get here?
On April 2nd came the big announcement that a 10% baseline tax was to be imposed across the board on all imports into the US, countries that ran trade surpluses with America, or those with trade measures deemed unfriendly to the US will also be hit with higher reciprocal rates. Among those who were the hardest hit, Cambodia was slapped with a 49% tariff. For Vietnam, it was 46%. Imports from China would be taxed 34%. European Union shipments would be hit with taxes of 20%, while Malaysia was slapped with a 24% tariff. Unsurprisingly, the US stock market as well as other major global markets suffered sharp declines in response. On April 4th, China announced retaliatory measures, saying it will impose a 34% tax on imports of all American products to match that of the US. Beijing also announced more export controls on rare earth shipments out of the country, potentially disrupting foreign production of high-tech items like computer chips and batteries. On April 9th, however, Trump backtracked, now saying that his higher reciprocal rates would be paused for 90 days. The tariffs against China, however, were to proceed, with the total amount of taxes on Chinese goods now raised to 125%, apparently because Beijing had dared to fight back with tariffs of its own. And true to form, April 11th saw China announce tit-for-tat measures, saying it will raise its own tariffs on US shipments to 125% as well. At the same time, the Trump administration said that electronics, including smartphones and laptops, will be temporarily exempt from the reciprocal tariffs. In the days that followed, Trump also hinted at possibly reducing the amount of tariffs imposed on China as long as Beijing was prepared to negotiate. At the time of this recording, however, the Chinese government has yet to offer any indication of coming to the negotiation table. That appeared to be the last major statement coming out of Washington regarding the tariffs. Although given the amount of backtracking, escalation and de-escalation by Trump, it's anyone's guess how the situation will eventually play out.
So with all that said, how will the tariffs affect Malaysia? The International Monetary Fund reduced its GDP forecast for the whole ASEAN region, citing global growth concerns. For Malaysia, its 2025 GDP forecast was cut to 4.1%, down from 4.7% previously. As for its impact on ordinary Malaysians, this was a question that we asked University Malaya economist Dr. Goh Lim Tai. According to Dr. Goh, the tariffs will mainly have an impact on a few employers, and the average Malaysian may experience a few knock-on effects.
In the short term, this is more likely to affect exporters, particularly those in sectors like furniture, textile, rubber products, and electronic firms that ship final goods to the US market. For the broader publics, the effects could show up indirectly. For instance, if exporters face reduced orders, that could affect jobs, suppliers' contracts, or investment flows in specific industry. If the issue drags on or escalates, that could also be ripple effects in terms of sentiments and investor confidence.
And is there anything that we can do individually to protect ourselves? Dr. Goh says the two most important things we can do are to keep ourselves informed and don't panic. Apart from that,
for individuals, the best thing to do is to stay informed and avoid panic. If you are a business owner involved in export, it may be worth reviewing your supply chains and market diversification strategies. If you are a worker in a trade-sensitive sector, consider upskilling, especially as the economy shifts further towards digital and green growth areas. This does not mean starting over. It means building on your experience so you can move across sectors or take on new roles as the industry evolves.
And at the end of the day, Dr. Goh says if we play our cards right, we can avoid the worst of it.
Malaysia's economy is not overly dependent on one market. Our exports are diversified across Asia, Europe, and within ASEAN, and that provides some resilience. What's more important in times like this is economy agility, our ability to respond to shifting conditions with flexibility, especially for small businesses and workers in trade-exposed sectors.
Naturally, this is a developing story, so there will probably be lots of twists and turns in the weeks or months to come, and we will give you the updates when they happen. So tune in to the Astro Radio News updates. So speaking of updates, here's the first one. At the time of recording, the Dewan Rakyat held a special meeting to debate the tariffs and how the government is going to mitigate any impact. PM Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim spoke of the many initiatives that we mentioned earlier, including the ongoing negotiations in Washington. He also added that we are strengthening and building new trade partnerships. He name-dropped countries including China, Japan, Korea, the Gulf states, and BRICS nations. Datuk Sri Anwar also reiterated the government's commitment to improving domestic demand. More updates as we get them. Next time in another video perhaps. I'm Faisal American.